So, dear colleagues online, dear colleagues at the panel here at the Akademiegebau, and dear guests in our round table, I learned in this Leading Voices conference that there is a special slot in the afternoon, and it's the graveyard slot. I heard. And I'm sure that this won't be the graveyard slot, because here are 4 excellent experts on the round table who are going to share their knowledge on the topic singing in school, and especially singing in school music curricula. That's what we're gonna talk here, and I warmly invite you all to share your expertise, and also back home you are invited to write in the chat. There is somebody in the room who will help us answering all the questions. But before we start, I want to give a short introduction to my guests on the panel. I start on the right with Beat Schäfer from Switzerland. He's a specialist in music education, choral conductor, head of the choral department. He has led singing weeks and music courses throughout many years. He published some papers, and he has decades of experience in teaching. And what I see now is, sorry, I forgot that you founded a music school, a choir school as well in Switzerland. Then here is Motje Wolf from Great Britain. She's one of my colleagues in a special focus group. That's the focus group Singing in Music Education within the European Association of Music in Schools. Motje Wolf is in Leicester right now at the Montfort University, She's an internationally published researcher in the field of technology-enhanced music education. And she's a professional singer herself, and of course also a choral conductor. Then, on my left, that's on your right, I'm happy to welcome Sanna Salminen from Finland. She is at the University of Jyväskylä in the middle of Finland. She published a few school books that is used in primary schools, in Finnish primary schools. She is a very well-known children's choir conductor. Vox Aurea is her choir. And she's also, like Motje, member of the steering committee of Singing in Music Education. I will talk about this later, because that's where we three come from. And that's also an important topic for our group. And last but not least, here is Cayetana from Estonia. She's also children's choir conductor with decades of experience in the field. She is Secretary General of the Estonian Choral Association and a former board member of the European Music Council and the European Choral Association. And I also found that you were a music teacher in kindergarten. That was written in Wikipedia.
Yes, I have been music teacher in kindergarten and primary school, and I have also founded a private choral school, and I worked there as choral singing teacher already for 10 years. So.
Excellent. So these are my experts, my guests today, and we are in a few seconds going into a discussion or into several statements that will be followed, of course, by a discussion with you. And let me add 2 thoughts at the beginning from my perspective. Or let me introduce or say a few words about myself. I am a teacher trainer right now at the private university Gustav Mahler in Klagenfurt, Austria. And I was working a lot and a long time with children's choir and school choirs. And one of my research interests currently is to improve singing in schools, and that's why I was invited to run this or to moderate this panel. 2 years ago in Austria, there started a curriculum reform process I don't want to comment it right now, but whenever we have the chance to change something in our curricula, we have to go for it, and we have to see this as a kind of that moment to improve things. But it could be that the things are already perfect. In Austria, we were discussing a lot about competence-oriented music education, and as I said, I don't want to comment the process, but just as a first thought, we should use such moments when they appear that we, as experts, take the chance and change things that, in our opinion, should be changed. So the topic is the status of singing in European schools as school music curricula. And I would like to invite, well, let's start with you, Kaya, to again shortly introduce yourself and then share a certain moment from your experience in school when it comes to singing. How was it when you were a pupil in school? Were you singing a lot or not? But please, Kaya.
I think we already were introduced by you very well. I don't think I should. Sorry, I forgot. We already were introduced by you, so I don't think I should add anything much more. But when I was a child, I was learning in normal school, but so-called music specialized class. We just had class, which was quite a concentrated on music, which meant that we had 5 music lessons every week. And we had very inspiring music teacher, and I think it is one of the reasons why I am now choral conductor. And I saw what you can do with 5 music lessons per week. We were all singing, we had wonderful choir, we went to competitions, and we all played instruments, and it wasn't like selected children. But with Kodai method, relative method, everyone was able to sing in tune, and it was really inspiring. I loved music lessons and singing in school. So I think for me, it was very, very positive thing.
Thank you, Kaya. Sanna, would you like to continue?
Thank you. I had a little bit similar kind of, so I went as well to enhanced music education classes in Riihimäki, my hometown. And so we were singing a lot together, and we had all kinds of musical projects and so on. And actually, I have now a recent example what was the kind of the power of singing a lot together. We just had a class meeting last Saturday. So we met after many decades, getting old. so we met each other, and we still remember the songs that which started our coming together when we were 9 years old. And so we were going together with the same class until we were 16. And so we kind of got very close, and singing was important part. And again, as we met each other, so of course we were singing together.
Thank you, Sanna.
For me, that was actually different. I went to school in Germany, where I grew up, and I played the violin. So this was my main instrument. So this was kind of my background, and I never took school music at all serious. We had this 1 hour per week, but it changed with art. So half a year we had music, and half a year we had art. But in music, for every year, we learned the notes. And I could do that already. But we had a very, very ambitious music teacher who was also an opera singer, and he did sing a lot with us, and I do remember all these songs. And we did do class singing, but still, Music education seemed to happen for me personally more in the violin lessons, where I learned Kodai, where I sang all my pieces first. So my first singing teacher, I would say, was my sister, who taught me all the songs she knew. But my second singing teacher was my violin teacher, who did all the kind of Kodai method with me, and where we did all a lot of group singing as well in a string ensemble. So that was my way into singing, which was probably a little bit different than to everybody else.
Thank you.
I think it's a little bit close to you. In primary school, my first contact was, of course, the singing in the class. I cannot remember in one singing lesson, but we have sung for the beginning of the day. We had to sing in an exam, for an exam. We have to sing at the end of the day, and these moments I can remember. And beside of that, it was the piano. I have first absolved a piano education. But in the grammar school, it was my teacher who taught me to sing, who gave me a new idea of what is making music, and infected me. And of course, I was there in the choir, and I wanted to be also a choir master. I started very young with choirs because I thought that is something what I was thrilled. And so I come on, and later on, as you said, I was also a primary teacher, an ordinary primary teacher, then a pianist, and conductor, school musician, and a church musician. And after that, I got head of the University of the Arts for conducting, singing, and so on. And this contact to singing in the singing school we met was very interesting, because I knew the situation in our school, at the place where I live, and we made something others. And I could make a contact between the school and our singing school, so that I could get in all classes, and the teachers, because I was a teacher, they accepted that they have seen other sides, what I'm doing, and had put it in their program, but I couldn't change something in the school. It was not possible, but I know both sides. That's what I say now for the thing, yes.
Thank you for this first round. I heard 5 hours per week when you were young, 1 hour per week when you were young. And I'm asking myself, or you probably also may ask yourself, how did the guiding documents, the curricula, looked like at that time, and how did they change until today? Did they change in a way? So my second question now would be, which is and please, I have to apologize a bit. We can not speak of the whole country. That's impossible. We have to be aware of this. But still, I want to ask, which place does singing have in real life, like for today? Do you want to speak about Great Britain? Yeah. About England? Yeah. And about Switzerland, Finland, Estonia? Which place does it have today, and which does it have in the curriculum today? This is an important question, because, in my opinion, it's the guiding document for everything that happens or should happen in schools. So I would like to invite you, Motje, to start with your experiences. How is singing right now in England? How is it represented in the curriculum?
Thank you. Well, I would like to say it depends. So it depends on where you go. We have quite a disparate school landscape. So we have the private schools on one side, and we have the state schools on the other side. The private schools, normally their music provision is very good, but they're high fee-paying schools. So you pay very much, actually. So there's £10,000 a year. It's a very cheap school, so just so you have an idea. So there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of resources there. Don't have to worry about those. But on the state school side, we have a national curriculum that is organizing our teaching, and the national curriculum for music for key stages 1, 2, and 3, that is going from year 1 to 9, which is the compulsory music part, is for key stages 1 and 2, 1 page, and for key stage 3, 1 page. And the page is mainly white. So it's not much on it, which gives you an immense freedom as a music teacher and no guidance if you are actually not a specialist music teacher, which is happening mainly in primary schools. There are some guiding documents that come with this. And some of them, they have improved over time. I must say there are some real will from the government to change this, which is a good thing, and I'm not lightly saying something good about the current English government. So there's the National Music Plan, there's the new version has just come out that guides all the ideas of music education throughout the country. So it's for the schools, but also for the music hubs. That's the equivalent to the music schools. That is probably here the case. And then also there's a model music curriculum now. So instead of having this one-page document, we have now a many more pages document where you get very clear guidance now on how to introduce something, what to introduce, what level to work to, what pieces you could listen to, and that's actually quite good. It's very much something to hold on to for those people who are not the specialists. But we also know that paper is patient. That's what we say in German. So paper is very patient. We say in the National Music Plan, the new one that has come out, it says we should have an hour per week of music education, which would be nice because I mean, the actual curriculum you can take in 5 minutes if you like, but we don't know where that's happening yet. So we have still schools where there is no music teacher or where there's a lot of collaboration with the music hub, not necessarily bad, but there's a lot of work that can still happen.
Thank you, Motje. May I ask, you were talking about secondary school or also about primary school?
Key stage 1 and 2, that
Key
is
stage
years 1 to 6 is primary school, and key stage 3 from year 7 to 9 is secondary school. So I was talking about both.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Very important knowledge or information for us. Beat, could you continue?
In principle, I think singing is a part of the basic musical education at all levels, primary and secondary schools, since long times. However, the concrete results, as you said, the concrete results are different. Schools are very different, and we have a system. We had a system until 7 years ago with 26 different systems in Switzerland. Each canton had another system, other material, and now it was put together and it has been harmonized. And since 1.5 years, this plan, Curriculum 21, called Curriculum 21, is now installed. What is written there? It is, in my opinion, wonderful. It is very different. We have a differentiation between singing and speaking, making movement, dance, to listen, and so on, until the stuff you have to know about music. And it goes from the first year of primary school, 11 years. At the end of the secondary school. And that is a pleasure, and I'm happy about that. But I have seen in other cases, because I'm an old man, 20 years before, that if the paper changes, that not means that something in the classroom has to change. We want to do that, of course. And I think there is the task now, the great task in Switzerland, because the teachers are the same. They are here, they are installed, and we don't want them to throw away. But are they willing to get a new idea, and can they put this new idea in their teaching? And the same is with the young that has to come. How will that come? I'm full of hope, because we should be hopeful, and think there is a point, as you said in your introduction, it's also a point of another idea who's coming here, and it would be fine if it would work. There are some signs. In Switzerland, we have, as a government, now it's the whole country, we have an organization, Youth and Sport, and it's very strong, with a lot of money. And since some years, 4 years, 5 years, there was a great pressure in the politics, in the government, that we have also now an organization, Youth and Music. And it was decided to give this money in this group, and also that they have to create concepts for the education. And we know in the music school that they have a lot more money than until yet to get new, in the music school, also with instrumental, it's not in the school, in the normal school, and but it has an influence that perhaps, that's very new, that it's not older than 1 month. In my canton, Zurich, it was decided by the government that music lessons are equal worth than mathematics or the German language. And before it was be divided with arts. Arts and music give together one note, and this note is as heavy as one mathematics note. And these are very good signs, in my opinion, for that what they are speaking here about singing in European curricula.
Thank you very much. Beat, Sanna, would you like to continue? Oh, or Kaya.
In my opinion, it is very important who is teaching music in school. And in Estonia, we are very lucky, because until now, every kindergarten director and also school director is obliged to employ a professional music teacher with university level education. And this is very important, because I really have seen what happens with the countries where there is no professional teacher until 5th grade or something. And it is very hard to get children sing after that. Luckily, until now, we have such law. Unfortunately, there is already proposal to not to have professional music teacher in kindergartens, which is already very bad, in our opinion. Hopefully, they don't do it still. It was just a proposal. But why that so? Because it is expensive to have professional music teacher in kindergarten. It's much easier than normal kindergarten teacher just does something musical. Obviously, it is expensive, but it's also needed if you want really to get children sing. And for us, until 4th grade, it is 2 music lessons in school. From 5th grade, there is only 1. And our curricula is actually quite thoroughful. Lately, they made a new curriculum, and there was much protests after that, because it really said very exactly what songs you have to sing and so on. And some teachers say that they don't like it, because they know themselves what they like to sing. But actually, teachers are not obliged to follow exactly the school curricula. I mean, if it is written what songs I have to sing, I still can pick some other songs, so it is not a problem. And for us, it is very important, of course, as it is Estonia, for us it's very important to have school choirs also. And it is more unstable, because school choir, putting it to official school schedule, it depends on school principal. which means that most of our schools have choirs, which means that they have also choral singing lesson after normal music lesson. But some school choirs just rehearse on school breaks, 20 minutes, which is not normal.
Or in the morning.
Or in the morning at 8, yes, before the other lessons start. And so this depends on school principal, but still until now, 2/3, about 65% of all Estonian choirs are children and youth choirs. So most of our choirs are in schools. And so we really want to keep it, because when the school choirs disappear, most of our choral culture is in danger. So for us, this is really very important.
Thank you, Kaya.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so happy to hear the situation in Estonia. It sounds very luxurious, actually. So we have, in Finland, we have as well, it's either 1 or 2 hours per week throughout the whole school, and also in senior high school, there still are 2 music courses, which one course means like 1 hour per week. Actually, it's 2 hours, sorry. But so the variation is very large, so it depends, by us as well, it depends a lot on the teacher, what's really happening there. And very often, who is teaching music, so from grade 5 on, it's very often like a professional subject teacher who has masters in music education. And then from grades 1 to 5, very often it's primary school teacher. But what is positive in there is that actually, because phenomenon-based learning is really a big thing in Finland, so if the music teacher is the primary school teacher, and if the primary school teacher is able to use music very effectively, so then it's possible that the classroom is really singing like throughout the school day, and they are combining music to different subjects and so on. So in a way, it has very many positive sides, that it's not only so that once a week the children go to a different place, so that a special person comes to teach music, because music doesn't belong to normal people. So in a way, that there are 2 sides of the coin. So in a way, it's a good thing if it is really like their own teacher of that group whom they know, and that's more like family kind of situation, and many possibilities of using music throughout the school day. But on the other hand, if their own teacher is not so into music and doesn't have so good music skills, so then of course it would be better to have somebody who is really skillful of using music.
Thank you, Sanna, and all the experts here. Are there any first questions or comments on what we have been discussing? Do you want to ask somebody something about the current situation in the represented countries? Yeah.
Yes,
Not anymore?
To Sanna, I admit it is a pain for me, and it makes me a little bit sorrowful, that I have seen just that what you said in Switzerland, because a lot of the primary school teachers said, I do it because I have to. Would you do that for me? And then the system changed, that we said, oh, we want professional teacher. And who are now the professional teacher? That are the primary teacher who are willing to do that. Or when we now build up young, new professional teacher that are not teacher of a high level, there are often teachers who do in what they think a good way, but it is often a very low level. They don't know something about the voice. If the class is singing loud, they are happy. If they are together, they are happy. And in extremely, my son, 10 years ago, in the classroom with 2 other classes, and the corners are the teachers, the primary teachers as policemen, and in front is the professional musician, and he sings cool songs and is happy when all are singing with and there is no chaos, and that cannot be the music. And I understand this problem when we professionalize that, and it's not a profit in our sense. Then the music will be ghettoized, it's a ghetto, and there is nothing. The other teacher, he don't know what the specialist has done, and then much more is forlorn, because earlier you have sung all the times, also for psychohygienic reasons, and now it's delegated, and this point, and this point, and if that's good, why not? Then have we two fairs, so Leuchttürme, and if you don't have that, then it's worse than before. And therefore it depends also in Switzerland from the teacher who is doing that.
Thank you, Beat. That's exactly an important thing that we already discussed this morning. But yeah, it is dependent on the teacher and also on the curricula. And I'm happy now to answer a first question or a comment. Oh, sorry, could you again start again?
I'm Mihaela Jagudic, I'm from Ljubljana, Slovenia. And we are quite happy with the situation in our schools regarding the music education, and especially the choirs. We share a little bit the situation with the Baltic states, where choirs are still having very much support, and we hope the government does not do a lot of research about other countries, because we might lose some privileges, because we listen to the situation elsewhere, and we have to be quite happy about it. But what you mentioned is the status of the music lessons before and after you start grading the knowledge of pupils, and before it was not like mathematics, and now it's equal as a grade in mathematics. I think this coin has two sides, and it's quite risky, because in Slovenia as well, before we did not give grades to kids like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the best. It was just you're quite good or successful or you're really talented. But from the time that there are grades, there's less and less making music. There's lots of learning by heart, learning history, learning theory, because if you need to give grades, you need to show some real knowledge, not doing the music. And I think it can be a good point, but it also has lots of negative sides as well.
Because if I have somebody who will learn from me, not in the school, he will come and will learn from me from my experience, then I have to give them a feedback, what I think, what can bring it further on, or where I can grow, or what I think about that. He needs a feedback. If that's only a grade 3, 4, 1, that's rubbish, of course. It has to be something with a content, and that the school needs the 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. That's a thing of the system. And it's in Switzerland we have this system since 20, 30 years, and the way of giving these marks is absolutely different. There are musicians, they give always the best note if nothing happens, and there are others, they are, like you say, they are counting the points, 1/3, a fifth, and a second, you didn't hear that, and that's bad, and so on. And I think we have to to learn how to give feedbacks and also give them the feeling, because young people, also in the sports, they want to get further on, and they see that. And I think it's possible that they have a joy and they go in also when we are working forward and say, oh, we do it again, and so until to the goal.
I think it's very much connected to the curriculum. If the curriculum says this is the knowledge that you have to achieve, and you need to know this for 2 or this for 5, that's a problem, because it's the school system that wants you to know things that are not maybe so necessary to know, and you spend time on knowledge that you don't really know, don't really need, but you need to make music more.
There's another answer.
Yes, thank you. So the system in Finland is such that actually we put lot of emphasis on self-evaluation. So kind of the curriculum, way of putting curriculum is such that it's possible for the children to kind of take part in putting the goals, and then they use a lot of self-evaluation and evaluating their friends. And we don't have any kind of inspections from the state or anything like that, but the teachers and then the pupils are trusted a lot, so that it's and then that I think that makes it in a way possible to have like a softer way of giving the marks or so on, because it's always comes from the pupils, and it's not like teacher giving some kind of labels that you are number 2 in singing there, but so it's more like their own experiences are valued.
Thank you, Sanna. Thank you for your comment. Mathieu?
This is really interesting, Sanna. I think we should all learn from that. This is such a nice way of education, really. In the UK, our current curriculum, that is so short, as I said, is from 2014. The version before contained some levels where pupils could actually work towards it. And I've observed teachers talking to their students on, yeah, level whatever, and in order to reach the next level, these are the things that are required. And that really gave some responsibility to the student as well to kind of put their learning into their own hands. A little bit, obviously, got their guidance and everything. But this is all gone now, and even though we have the model curriculum, which I said is a good step forward, these levels have disappeared, and it would be so nice to have that back. In a few years ago, actually, we did a study, Helmut and Johan van der Zandt and I, to compare our curricula and looked at what is actually available in terms of, or what the status is, pretty much like the topic of this roundtable, and we found that it was only Austria that really kind of defined competences that needed to be reached at a certain age, while in Italy and South Tyrol, both regions we looked at, and in England we didn't have that, which is really difficult then for the music teachers and the people who teach music, because they're not necessarily the same people, aren't they, to actually know what they're aiming for. And I guess in the morning we had a bit of a discussion on that we're underestimating our musicians, our singers, our children we're working with. And if you don't have these guidelines to work towards to, how shall you know, like in your example, how shall you know that starting and stopping at the same time isn't what we are just aiming for, or that singing loudly isn't just what is required?
Thank you, Mathieu.
It was very interesting to hear Michaela's point, because actually just now we have very big discussions in Estonia, because our music teachers are protesting against taking grades away from music lessons, because they're the same. They say that actually you can't put numbers for sports and arts. And our music teachers said that they are very much afraid of that, because then it gives signal to the pupils that music is not serious lesson, that it gives signal that it is less important than math and languages and so on. And they're just afraid that it causes the pupils, not doing their home tasks and taking music as like less worthful subject in school. So it is very interesting that you have experienced that actually the grades can also cause some negative things. So it is very interesting.
I want to ask a thought. There was a big discussion going on in the US where I stayed a few months 3 years ago, and they discussed the question, is music or singing in a choral class an academic subject, and how can we make it as experienced like an academic subject like math or language? And they said we need the grades, but that was 30 years ago in the US, and then they developed the various stages that pupils and singing kids in choir classes should reach at a certain age. But now the discussion is somewhere else, and I really like the approach of Finland in this discussion, and what you said, that there is a self-evaluation right now going on. This also has to do a lot with the assessment thought that is also something important in the UK and around. The self-assessment, that means pupils are responsible for their learning process. We give them a bit more the power to define where are we right now, or what did I learn and not what the teacher thinks me that I have learned. So there's another topic, the assessment topic, but it is related with the curriculum, definitely. So I look at my watch. We have 15 minutes more to go before we stop, and I have another question to you. Please tell me one or two best practices. What I see is that our microphone doesn't work anymore. That's the graveyard slot, and also the technique is going to pass away. But nevertheless, my question was, let's also share the best practices, the kind of role models in our curricula. Who wants to start with the best practice? Motje?
So I don't think I can give a sentence from the curriculum, although I do know it by heart because it is so short, but I've said that before, haven't I? But I would like to say that it is possible to actually integrate music really well into the school if you really want to do that. And we had a school in Bradford. There's just a deprived area. It's in the north of the country, and we do know that in England everything is about London, and if it's not about London, it might be about either Birmingham or if at all, then about Manchester, but not about Bradford. So Bradford is quite a deprived area, and there was a deprived primary school which was not very well achieving, and 13 years ago they had a new head teacher who thought, actually, we turn it around. Let's turn it around and let's think about what we could do, and started to integrate creative subjects far more than before, and adding up to 5 lessons of music per week. Some pupils actually have 8 lessons if you count as well, or 8 hours if you count choir and orchestra as well. This person, I wrote down his name because I think he needs to be mentioned. He's Jimmy Rotherham, and kudos to you. Basically, he trained himself up with the Kodai method, and started to kind of teach this in the school. And the whole school ethos has changed. And it's changed from a very bad achieving school to an outstanding school. We have a rating system. We have a rating system for everything in the UK, but we have a rating systems also for the achievement of schools. and that's done by Offset, our quality control, and they got outstanding in 2019. They're due a new review, so we don't know what COVID has done to them. But it is possible, if you want it. And, sorry, last sentence to that, there is help available as well through initiatives like Sing Up, for example, that really have worked very hard. It's our national singing program. From 2012 onwards, they're government funded first, is now privately funded because the government money has run out. But they're doing an incredible amount of work to try to promote singing in schools, and if you haven't come across them, it's worth checking them out because they're online, so you can actually reach them also from your country.
Other best practices in curricula related to singing?
I must say, for me, it's quite actually quite simple. We are really very happy about professional music teachers, both in school and kindergarten, and also that the curricula gives actually quite much freedom for music teacher. So really, I am happy that take good professional music teacher and trust him or her, and it's really the best way.
That's an important sentence, very important.
I totally agree with that. So freedom is so important as well. Yes, I would actually think that maybe the best practices first is this enhanced music education classes that we do have around the whole country. Almost every city has this system still available, and so it's kind of, well, nowadays it is just if family would like their child to go there, so they can just join this way of going to school, and they have 5 music lessons every week, and after school they often go to music school to have instrument lessons and music theory lessons and so on. So I think that's very nice because the community that grows out of those classes is very special. Then another thing is that now, especially after COVID, so our government wanted to start support hobbies quite strongly. That movement started earlier on already, that there is a hobby guarantee in Finland that each and every child has to have a possibility to have a hobby. And that's a guarantee for every child in Finland. And so the hobbies started to come to school. And now these school choirs, they are right now having kind of a new rise. So they are coming back. And I think that's very positive thing.
That's fine to hear that there are so many best and good practices. Do you want to add something before I say we probably asked the wrong question? I mean, there is no question in there, but I kind of was looking, as Mutja already said, in our research, we were looking at what is lacking in our curricula, what should be improved, and I see there is a lot of good things happening. We didn't differentiate now between the curricula for kindergarten teachers, primary school teachers, lower secondary, upper secondary school. There should be a deeper discussion, but probably it's also fine at the various stages in your countries. Am I right? In
but
the different
from
I will pass over to him. Is it fine at every single stage in Finland and in Estonia when it comes to the curricula related to singing?
No, of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
If we are looking for mistakes or what we would want more, of course you can find much there. For us, it's mainly that one lesson or 1 hour per week is few. It is too few. So we would really like to have 2 music lessons per week, at least until the end of 9th grade. And what we also have struggling is we need choir rehearsals in school everyday schedule to avoid rehearsing on school breaks. So it's two main things.
I don't know if my microphone works anymore.
You can use this.
You can use this one. This one works.
This one works. So, Beat, the best practice from Switzerland.
It's a little bit difficult now because I could tell about this curriculum I have written here. But maybe it's a little bit stubborn. I do it if you want.
Go ahead.
There are two plans. The one is for the music education. This new plan is designed for classes from grades 1 unto 11. And singing and speaking is point 1. That is the first point for the whole section. Singing in an ensemble. Pupils can perceive themselves singing in a group and use their voice in a differentiated way when singing in a choir. B. Voice as a means of expression. The pupils can perceive, develop, and shape the voice and its tonal expression. This goes for all 11 years. So in a very low level for the small children unto the grown-ups. Song repertoire. The pupils can sing songs from different times, styles, and cultures and have a varied repertoire. Second, listening and orientation. Auditory orientation. Pupils can perceive, differentiate, and describe the environment and musical elements orally. B. Knowledge of music and history and the present. Pupils can recognize and classify music from different times, genres, styles, and cultures and adopt an open attitude. C. Meaning and function of music. Pupils can grasp different meanings, functions, as well as emotional and physical effects of music in the environment, in society, and the media. In Watch Deep, that's not said. It's only the moving and dancing. Sensomotor training. The pupils can perceive and use their bodies in a sensory motor differentiated way and react in music-related way. They can orientate themselves to music in space and in the group. Bodily expression to music. The pupils can use their body as a means of expression and in connection with materials and objects to music and interact in the group.
Sorry to interrupt you, Beat. This is the whole curriculum. You started with the singing
Yes.
paragraph, and this is
But
important to say that it is in the top of your curriculum. And also movement is a kind of the curriculum, or when we practice singing as we are convinced that singing should be practiced like a holistic and...
I would give only the 3 points,
yeah.
not the whole thing.
Okay.
It will be complemented by making music with instruments in ensembles or alone, creative process, musical exploration and presentation of themes, or designed to exist in music, musical performance skills, and then the practical musical knowledge as rhythm, melody, harmony, and notation. And I think all together that makes a musician. Not only the notes and the melody harmony knowledges, not only singing, not only the instrument. This is the idea behind, and therefore I'm very happy that we have that in this open way formulated here.
Thank you. Motja, did you want to add something?
Yes, I was just wondering two things actually. The first is, one is a comment, one is a question. Our national music plan, the old one and the new one, both states every child should sing, which is actually a statement. This is amazing, if you think about it. But it's the strategies of how to get to that point. And the national music plan for us and the curriculum, there are statements of where do we want to go, but it's not necessarily what's always happening. How is that with your curriculum? Do you know how much of that is actually happening?
I think it is too detailed, what would come now. Because only for the point singing and speaking, I have 2 pages where we have this Pupils aged from 4 to 6 years can engage with different moods in song and sing along. Only that. B, can sing children's songs and singing games from their world, for example, everyday life, family, home, nature. The pupils at the age of 7 to 8 can sing children's songs in dialect, standard language, and from different cultures. Sing songs, canons, and folk songs, and have a repertoire. And
that's
so
very
on.
similar, yeah, to what we found in the Austrian curriculum. And still there's a problem in Austrian schools because we do not have that yet for primary schools, but it's going to happen in the new curriculum. So I have to ask the audience right now, are there any questions in the chat, or is there another question or a comment from our guests in here today? Yes?
In the Netherlands, we have curricula for primary school, for all the school types. But the best thing I experienced this year is working with music, with the Ukrainian refugee children, singing, dancing, playing instruments, and seeing that music makes them feel safe. It's a part of infant mental health, what we are doing with music also. And whether they can sing children's songs from their environment or from another country, it's not that thing. That's not the honey. I think we are working on a healthy and safe environment for all our children, and music is a huge part of it.
Thank you for this very important comment. Any other comments, questions?
So if the question is about the status of singing in the school curricula now, it's important to have people that can do it. So because I heard you are doing some researches, I heard that there's a smaller number of students of music pedagogics. Nowadays, I don't know the situation. I just got this information for Germany, for example. And I don't know if this is something going on now in Europe, that there's less and less people that want to study and teach music, or I don't know if you are aware of this.
This is indeed a very problematic thing when I speak about Austria. I don't know how it is in other countries.
Yeah, the same thing in Finland. It's less and less people who want to study music.
And also in Estonia, I must say that but if we compare choral conducting and music pedagogy, it's still more people going to study music pedagogy than choral conducting. Like this year we had only 2 Estonian students entering music academy to study choral conducting. Of course, there was also many foreign students, but still we are concerning about Estonia. And we really have serious discussion. Why is it like that? Is it that people don't see their jobs and their salary? But of course, there are also other teachers. School also lack other teachers. Just it's not only music teachers. The young people don't want to study to become teachers in Estonia, and they really lack it. And so it's common concern.
So, thank you very much for these important thoughts and statements. Beat, a last sentence? Yes. Because the time is running out.
I would like to give an idea. What you want is very hard to control and to do. In my meaning, listen, I did not present my thinking, how I do my work when we started, of course of time. I wrote, The focus of my work with children and young people at school is the teaching of music, which for me is something that sounds, a language that can and should be practiced like the mother tongue or a foreign language. Music must be food for the soul, an expression with the world, an expression of joy, comfort in times of need, an outlet in times of danger, a language that connects me with the world, with the people around me, and ultimately with myself. That's why it's central for me not only to talk about, we have to talk about, but not only to talk about music in class, but also to practice it. And one of the most direct approaches is still, of course, one's own voice, one's own singing. And if I would do that in a curriculum, that would be, I think it could be a problem, because we don't know how to do that and control that. The curriculum has two parts. The one is for the teacher, the one is for the pupils, and the third is of an idea. That can be put in an idea in front of, and therefore it's for me not, it's not a contrast to think in this way, and also to be happy about some curriculums.
Thank you, Beat. We have to stop here. Let me add a last sentence. It is very important that a festival like Leading Voices gives a place for such thoughts, because when it comes to singing, we have to start in our educational institutions with singing, of course, also outside the educational institutions. I want to thank you, the Leading Voices team. I also want to thank you, my colleagues from the Singing in Music Education Special Focus Group. So whenever you're interested, please contact us. We're doing some work within the European Association for Music in Schools when it comes to singing. That's our task. Thank you very much for your questions, for your comments. Thank you, my dear experts on the panels, and enjoy your evening.